Let's do this.
Woo!
It feels like we're live in 5, 4, 3.
2, 1. Here we go. Welcome to the next exciting episode of the 6-Star Business Podcast. And we are here with Nancy and Darren. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm very excited to meet you both. This is my first meeting with you both. Obviously, Pete knows you. And here we are at the 6-Star Business Pub, as Pete cutely mentioned before. Don't know what the right word is there. For the benefit of our listeners, just to get us started, I'd like to know, or just to ask a few questions just to get us started. Nancy, maybe you could go first and just tell us where you are in the world, who you are, what you do, so you know who you serve, and perhaps something that you like to do in your spare time.
Okay, well, I'm Nancy Slessenger. I live in England, in the UK, as it is at the moment. And I live in a little village, tiny little village, not far from Nottingham, about 20 miles from Nottingham. It's a bit like living in the Arches if you're in the UK. And we do recruitment for business owner managed companies, entrepreneurs, people who've got small companies that are growing rapidly. And in my spare time, what do? I like gardening. I like cooking. I'm a very keen cook. I like going to concerts and films. We have our own home cinema, which we love. It's a little treat that we bought with my husband's retirement package. And over the lockdown, it's been worth every penny.
Wow.
And we host cocktail parties. I guess that's one of our favourite things to do. Yeah, so that's me.
What's your favourite cocktail?
Oh, well, there's one that I had once in the States when we were with Perry Marshall one time, and we went to, I think it's PJ Chang's, and they did this cocktail it has basil in it, and I'm trying to remember the fruit. Oh God, what are they called? Pomegranate juice. I think it's got gin and basil, and it's absolutely unbelievable. They never did it since, but I took a photo of the menu and I got my husband to recreate it because he trained in chemistry. That's his degree, so he's very good at that kind of thing. And he did manage to recreate it. And so, yeah, that's my all-time favourite cocktail. Good question. More questions like that would be fine.
And no one else can get it anywhere in the world. So remind me, when's your next cocktail party?
We do one between Christmas and the New Year, but this year we had to do it remotely. So we delivered everyone's cocktails and then we had it over Zoom.
Well, we look forward to the invite.
Yeah, don't worry. Just have to move to the village first. Yeah.
Small detail. Darren, how about yourself?
I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, so it's about an hour south of Brisbane. We are a full stack software development company, so technical, providing like apps and blockchain and all sorts of different types of apps, web applications. And our market's really serving business, sort of 5 to 50 staff is probably our ideal sort of client. Mm-hmm. And entrepreneurs that are trying to develop products that haven't been developed before. So our mission is to try and create some technology that hasn't been created or create some products that haven't been created. So we're really keen to work in that space. And as far as things go for recreation and that, I like to keep fit. Pete and I were having that sort of discussion last night. How many days did you run straight, Pete? It was about 2,500, something like that.
Yeah, just
not quite that. Yeah, so I sort of have a morning routine, but movies, I like to watch movies. I've been a bit of a movie buff over the years. I haven't watched so many in recent times because time has been limited. Even though you'd say, hey, you're in COVID times, you've got time, but time seems to be less at the moment, trying to fit everything in and cram everything into life.
Very good. It's fabulous. So we've got a common theme here, the movie buff thing, and my daughter's a bit of a movie buff as well. And I think she knows every movie. I mean, the lists of her movie library is disgustingly long, and she's enjoying teaching my younger sons all about different movies and genres and everything. So hearing, Nancy, that you have a home cinema is something I think that my kids would just
great.
Love.
What sort of films does she like, your daughter, then?
She grew up on the Harry Potters and all of those. She's across all of them. I don't know that there's a genre she doesn't like. Certainly, she'll even watch a period film or whatever it is. She doesn't like the cheesy kind of American kind of, that's kind of her least favorite. If that makes sense. But yeah, she can watch anything, and she knows the actors, the directors, all that stuff.
Well, our daughter is a makeup artist, and so now she works on some of those sorts of things. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's been really exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah. So she gets to meet some of these people that you don't normally meet. In fact, recently she actually met, I think I'm allowed to say this, David Beckham.
Ooh.
Oh my God. He was doing an advertisement, and she said he was just the nicest person you could imagine, which is always good to know, isn't it? Always good to know.
Yeah.
So whilst I'd love to keep talking about movies and home cinemas and cocktail parties, and I'm sure that there's an opportunity for us to loop back to this throughout the conversation, I'm wanting to know from you, like, first of all, what was it that sparked your interest to come on the Six Star Business podcast? Obviously, you have a connection with Pete, and there was a conversation that ensued. What was it that held your interest long enough, and what made you want to come and share your genius to discuss Six Star Business?
I suppose for me, I kind of feel quite strongly about the way recruitment is carried out, not very well very often, and how damaging that is to people's businesses, and how important it is to get it right, because we're sort of on a mission to help people get the people who are really going to help them grow their businesses, and also get people into jobs they're going to love rather than jobs that aren't a very good fit for them. I used to coach people, difficult people, who are basically people who perhaps might be technically really good, but you can't work with them, or they're totally unreliable, or they're really badly organized, or they bully other people or something. And whilst you can do that and you can turn people around, and I did turn a lot of people around, it's a lot cheaper to get the right person in the first place than to kind of get someone and sort of try to squeeze them into a job that isn't really a very good fit for them. So I kind of combined those skills to sort of pick out the people who are going to fit the best in a job and do a really great job. Because the difference between having someone who performs in an average way and someone who performs at a really high level is a lot on the bottom line, and it can make a really big difference. So it's always fun to talk about that, hear people's views, and there's always really funny stories about what horrible recruitment mistakes people have made, because we've all done that. I certainly have, and just how much it's cost you. Most people have no idea how much it actually costs you to get the wrong person or to get into the wrong job. Actually, that is awful. If you're in a job that you really hate, working with people you don't like and being treated badly and not being allowed to use your skills and so on, that's really soul destroying. So we're out there to really get people who are going to have a great time and do a great job.
I'll ask you the same question, but Nancy, I just want to touch on something you said there, which is really interesting. I don't think I've ever spoken to a recruiter that, and both times you've mentioned about helping entrepreneurs find the right people, you've also then put your focus onto the person that's getting the job, and that you have as much of an interest in making sure that, that the people that go into the jobs are going to love it and going to enjoy it, have a 6-star experience as much as the employer. That's wonderful. I'd like to dig into your what seems to be a 6-star approach to recruitment as we go. Darren, what was it about? I can't remember when we first spoke about it. It might even have been on our first time we were connected to each other. When I first mentioned 6-star business to you, what came to mind for you and kind of attracted you to the concept and sort of want to come on the podcast to join the conversation about it?
Absolutely. Well, I just think doing business differently and providing that absolute customer service to a customer is quite important to me. I think it started back when I started my first business 30 years ago. I think along the way, not that I've always got it right, but I've always tried to get it right as much as possible. So I sort of started in this industry that I'm in about 14 years ago, and had some moments throughout it where things have gone well and then things haven't gone so well. And in the last 12 months, my co-founder and I have really been on a mission to try and do something in this industry that's a bit different. Our industry is well known for being a rogue type industry. People don't deliver on time. And so we've been on really on a mission this year. And then I just happened to meet Pete at the right time. And then I met Michael Griffith, who you had on as a guest, I believe, not that long ago as well. And just thinking differently, trying to build a business that's remarkable, try and deliver a service that's remarkable, and try and do something that people just don't expect. And so when you and I chatted, Pete, to me, it was like, okay, there's something to learn, something for us that we can learn from other people that are in this community, in this 6-star business community, that we can all share so that we can all give our customers at the end of the day, we're all serving different customers and try and give them a better experience. So that's pretty much what we're trying to do each day.
There's an element of kind of commonality, between the industries that both you, Nancy, and Darren, you're in terms of the reputation that the industry has. Darren, you talked about the IT industry has a reputation for not delivering on time or budget. And Nancy, well, how would you describe the reputation of the recruitment industry?
I mean, we were actually just talking about this yesterday, because one of the big problems we have is when we're working for a client to find them someone they want, and we spend ages, working out what exactly they need and crafting everything really carefully. And then we find a really good candidate and we contact the client, and then we don't hear from them for 2 weeks. And so we're having to go back to the candidate and say, really sorry about this, Avril. We haven't been able to get hold of the client. They're probably really busy because they haven't hired anyone yet, all that sort of thing. And we always feel really bad about having to say that to the client, the candidate. The candidates are like, well, really appreciate you getting back to me. Usually people just don't even get back to us. So, this is great. And we have such good feedback because we make an effort to keep in touch with the candidates and let them know what's happening. And the more you do it, the more you realize that not most, I'm sure, but a lot of companies just do not treat their candidates well. In fact, it's really common if someone applies for a role, just not to get back to them if you don't like their application form or their CV or something. And you just never do. And they even say to us, we're having so many candidates for this role that we just don't have time to get back to you. If you don't hear from us, then you haven't got the job. Virtually, that's what they say, which these days, it's so easy to just have a standard email, thanks but no thanks email. There just is no excuse for treating people like that. We actually give people feedback as well. And that's one of our strongest values, that we should always be able to give a candidate open, honest, clear feedback that's helpful to them in the future on why they didn't or did get the role, basically. And we get lots of really thankful emails when we send people that feedback. And it is really specific feedback. It's not just, oh, well, you weren't quite what the client was looking for, because that's no help to anyone. It's like, here's question 1, here was your answer, this is what we actually were looking for instance. So it's really specific. Yeah. It's just the way people are treated in the main is terrible. I mean, we've got one client today who we've sent 3 really good candidates to, details of, haven't heard from them for, I think it's nearly 3 weeks. And I've got a meeting with them this afternoon. And even if they sent an email saying, I'm really busy at the moment, I won't be able to get back to you for 3 weeks, or I've broken my leg, I'm in hospital, won't be able to get back to you for 3 weeks. That would be something we wouldn't mind, but not getting anything, it's so hard to sort of say something to the candidates. And then you think, well, should we even be sending this person candidates if this is how they treat people and they haven't even joined yet?
Yeah.
So true.
Sorry. Those are my thoughts. I think the other thing with the industry is what a lot of people do is they have a big pool of candidates and they are selling those candidates to their clients. Now, that's a particular way of doing it, but it means that you're kind of there getting people off your books. Whereas what we're doing is we are finding the right person for you in the first place. So we don't have a big pool of people we're trying to sell to you. And I mean, some recruitment agencies actually will put someone into your company and then they'll poach them a year or even a few months later, send them somewhere else and get another fee for the same candidate. Wow. Which, it's just dreadful.
So what's your story, your journey to where you are now? What's led you to want to, in some way, disrupt a fairly well-established industry?
I mean, I didn't actually set out with the mission of disrupting it. I suppose I was asked to help, actually it was a client in Australia, funnily enough, to do his recruitment for him. And I pointed out at the time a little bit sarcastically that he was in Australia and we were in the UK. And he said, well, that's fine. Just come back to me with a plan next week. So I thought, okay. So I just looked at the whole process and what I'd done over the years. When I used to do lots of recruitment, we didn't particularly specialize in it at that stage. And when you've got constraints and limitations, then you have to be a bit more creative with what you do. So I went through the whole process and worked out how we could do it remotely. And I came up with this way of doing it. And he just bought a business that was making, I think it was like 9% loss or something. And so we went through all his staff. We hired him some new people, helped him get rid of some other ones. And he turned it around to 16% profit in 9 months. And he was actually just about to fire the person who was, in fact, his best employee.
Wow.
And because she'd been really badly managed previously, so that's why she wasn't doing well. But when we interviewed her and sort of tested her and stuff, she looked like a really good person who had all the right criteria or met the right criteria. And yeah, she actually turned into a massively good employee, running the whole department and everything. So that, he was really pleased with it. His accountants thought it was great. They recommended us to other people and we worked for them as well. We still do. And they were the ones who said, really, you should think about doing this as an actual service that you offer to people. And then Perry Marshall said the same when we went through it at one of his workshops. So we started doing it. It was only then that we started to discover some of the things that agencies do. I mean, they're not all bad. I'm sure there are a lot of really good people in the industry, but like with your industry, Darren, there are some people who just don't seem to care. I think, in fact, I met someone recently who wanted some advice on setting up a recruitment company because he'd seen a gap in the market and thought it would be a really good way to make some money. And he had no experience whatsoever, no idea, and wanted some advice on it. And the more I talked to him, the more I thought, this is really, in my personal view, not why you should be going into this business. But I suppose that's just my view.
Good values. That's what you have, I believe. Good.
If somebody says, oh, well, I've seen a restaurant, I think it would be good to go into the restaurant industry because you can make lots of money, but they can't even cook a fried egg or don't really care about food. I mean, that's the thing. It's that they don't really care about what they're doing. But I suppose that's true for any industry, isn't it? It's not just our industry.
I think it's fairly common, that kind of accidental, almost falling into, in a sense. Can you resonate with that, Darren?
Oh, yeah. I fell into this industry back in about 2006, 7. And one of my mates was building some software, started out from scratch, spent nearly $2 million trying to build a platform. And we're talking, 14 years ago. And got towards the end of the platform or the end of the project. Still doesn't have a full platform built now. $2 million for the experience, and got led a merry dance over about 18 months to 2 years. And that's sort of how I got into the space, and then started my own business doing web and marketing and things like that in 2007. And that sort of just evolved as I've met my co-founder of the business, and we sort of ventured out in a different direction where I started, but it was, I fell into it. After I finished my professional sporting career, I was a landscape gardener. So I had a landscaping and maintenance company there for about 15 years. So, and I fell into that as well. So I believe it's like fate. You just head down the right direction. You're in the right place at the right time, and if your preparedness meets that readiness, you head off and take up an opportunity when it's in front of you.
I think also, though, when you fall into something, you tend to look at it in a different way, don't you? You can sort of sit back and review it and analyze it. I mean, when I first started work, like the early 14th century, I was in this company and it was a manufacturing company. We were electronics manufacturing, and I became a production manager there. So I was running this department of like 40 people when I was about 21, amazingly. And we seemed to have a lot of people who weren't actually very good at their jobs in the company. And I kept thinking, what are they doing here? How did they get in and why did we recruit them? And so I did some analysis because my background's physics and I like a graph. That's the thing I really love, is a nice graph, some nice figures, so you can really see what's going on. So I went to my colleagues, my production manager colleagues, and there were like 6 of us. And I asked each person, who is your best person? Who are your 3 best people? Who are your 3 worst people? And every production manager knows who their best and worst people are. It's really easy to measure. So I took those names, put them into two lists, went to the HR department, and I asked for all the information we had on the recruitment process for those particular people, their application forms, and we did all these tests and everything. And I put them into those two piles. And then I went through and analysed them, and I was looking for some correlation. Well, it was really interesting, because in that pile of the best people, we had quite a few people who'd only just scraped through. They almost didn't get the job. In the pile of the worst people were lots of candidates we thought were absolutely fantastic and were going to be really brilliant. I thought, well, that means there's something wrong with the process then, doesn't it? Basically. Because in that pile of those best people, I bet there were some other people who didn't scrape through who actually would have been really good people. So I looked at all the different tests that we were doing, and there were some really key things that we were getting wrong. So if you think about a production line and you think of the sort of work you need to do, lots of people think it's really easy. It is not easy. You have to do a particular task to a really high level of quality every time. Every minute of the day, you have to be really focusing and doing that job really well. Now, if you think about the kind of person who does that, do you think they're a lively, chatty, fun person? No, they are a quiet, careful, meticulous, we could almost probably use the word boring in some ways, person. So in an interview, that person is not going to come across as really fun and really easy to get on with and really outgoing. They might do after a few weeks when you've got to know them, but they are not going to do that in an interview. So the production managers would be hiring all these, let's say it, young, attractive female people who then got really bored. And not only did they not do their work well, they'd then start distracting other people and chatting to them, the people who were doing a good job, and reducing their performance. So that was one key thing we got wrong. There's another one where you had to put a little pin into there's a wooden block with little holes in it. You had to take a pair of tweezers, put pins in the block, and that was supposed to test your manual dexterity. Now, the trouble is, if you're a shy, nervous person, your hand's shaking and you're kind of doing this and it's something new, so you're a bit unsure, you're trying to do it, so you don't get many pins in the block. If you're like me, relatively outgoing, you're sort of, oh yeah, this is fine. But you get bored really easily. So in the long run, you're not going to do a good job. Whereas what you want are the people who take a bit of time to learn it, but once they've got it, they're like a traction engine and they will just carry on. Fire alarms going off. It's, yeah, well, I just have to finish this before I leave the building sort of person. And I mean, we were recruiting people who were colorblind, so they couldn't tell the difference between the different wires. It's an electronics company. And people who couldn't actually see some of the wires that we used because they were very fine wires. So what we hadn't done was we just hadn't looked at the evidence we'd got and compared it to the results we were getting. And that's a really big mistake that a lot of people make when they're recruiting. They don't go back and say, well, we thought Peter was great, so how come he can't do the job? We know, what were we actually testing? And how does that match with the results we're getting? So that's what I did as a little personal project. And that really taught me a lot of lessons, which I didn't learn completely because I still did hire some people who weren't the right people. But over the years, I've made some big improvements.
I think that's how you learn, though. I think that's how you learn, though, Nancy, don't you?
Yeah,
you learn from your mistakes. You don't exactly learn when things are going well.
Well, I mean, you see, that's another point. Actually, that's not totally true, is it? Because one of the things we do is when a recruitment goes really well, then we look back and say, okay, what made this one go really well compared to others that didn't go as well? And you can learn a lot from when things go well, and people often don't do that. It's a really weird thing. As I used to do a lot of training years ago, and I used to work with these other colleagues, and we'd run the same course several times, and we did one, and we did 5 days of it, and one of the days went so much better than the other 4 days. And I said to my colleagues, well, what was it? Oh, it's just one of those things. I said, no, there must be something. And I went through everything we'd done, and we'd used early on in the day a different example to explain a particular key point. And that was the thing. Every time we used that example, the whole day went much better. When we used different examples, it didn't work as well. So most people don't spend enough time reviewing, learning the lessons from when things, well, it's rather than thinking about it when something goes well, it's just like, what are the results? Let's just see if we go back, what caused that to happen, or what could be the cause.
It's a very scientific very
Yeah.
scientific approach, isn't it? Which is a function of your background. So what advice would you, I mean, we could all appreciate the merits and the value of that approach, but what advice would you have to someone who perhaps doesn't have that scientific background and rigor to do that in that way?
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it and draw the graphs like I like to do, but you can just, if you have hired or recruited someone who just isn't doing a good job, be really specific about what it is they're not doing. Are they not doing enough of what you want? Are they not doing what you want? Are there specific things they don't do well? Are they not getting on with people? Just identify what the key things are. And usually it's not everything. It's usually less than 10% of what their job is that they're not getting right. And then say, okay, when we were recruiting this person, how did we check this? Did we indeed check it? And quite often it'll be, well, there was this thing in the interview. I mean, we had a client recently who had several different candidates for this particular role, and it was a piano coach, so a piano teacher role, for very top class piano teacher. And there were these various different candidates, and they thought one of them was the best candidate. And I said, actually, no, I think this other person is the best candidate. And the thing was, the one I thought was the best had, one of the questions was about Zoom, and had you done Zoom lessons during the lockdown compared to normal face-to-face lessons? And some of the candidates were, yeah, and they're kind of okay, and there's these things you can't do and so on. And the other candidate had got this big spreadsheet of what you could do on Zoom, what you couldn't do on Zoom, what you could do face-to-face, what you couldn't, what the pros and cons were. And here were these things that you could do on a recording that you couldn't do face-to-face. This whole thing that they'd worked out. And I said to the client, this is amazing. This is a person who deliberately goes about to improve what they do and is actively looking to improve their skills. The other two have sort of accidentally improved things. But this one is going to carry on improving because they have systems for doing that. They actively employ it. But it's kind of not very exciting, is it? It's not as exciting as, oh, well, I accidentally came across this great thing that works really well. That sounds more charismatic, doesn't it? And we can often mistake a charismatic person for someone who's going to be good at the job. And that's where our whole political system goes wrong, I think, that we just hire people or vote for people on charisma rather than someone who has a track record of doing a really good job in a sustainable long-term way, which isn't very exciting. So yeah, that's my advice. Just really be careful. Look carefully at what specifically is working and what isn't working, and how you are checking those things in your candidates.
I really love that, Nancy. And as you're talking, I'm thinking everything you're saying can be easily applied to Darren's business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And I'd love to hear, Darren, from you about that and what you do and your thoughts. And yeah.
One of the things that we've had, especially this year, is we're trying to lift our game as a company, as my co-founder and I are trying to lift our standards. Let's say create a 6-star business, and we're by no means are we anywhere close to a 6-star business. But that's
what
what
are
we're
the
striving
specific
for.
things that you're looking to improve then, Darren?
So one of the things that we found was delivery times. Delivery times are always out.
Good one. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, why are our delivery times out? Because at the end of the day, you can pull out your Gantt charts and you can do all the planning under the sun, but why are we not delivering at the end?
And what have you found?
There's a couple of things. And one of them was a simple process that the client, as you're going through the process, wants to change things consistently. They go, as they see things, they want to, okay, can you just do that? And can you just do this? And can you change this little bit here? And can you do this over here? Sure, it's not going to take that long, they'll say. But
we are those clients, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the best way I can describe it. Like building some software is no different than building a house, okay? So imagine this, a blueprint of your house. So you've built the foundations of your house and you've put the walls up and you've bricked in the wall. And now all of a sudden, like say this client wants something changed, like the wall's now fully bricked and now you want to put a window in. So now you've got to knock out a hole in that window. You've got to now patch it up, put the window in, do all the patch-up work around it. And obviously that takes a lot of time.
So what are you doing to stop that from happening then, Darren? How are you going to get that right?
So we've put in some systems and processes in place. So we now do some workflows for the client, make sure we get all those right, the user roles, and get all that functionality right. Then we do our design. So we do our user design and user experience. And we make sure that is all done before we even write a line of code now. So where we would do some of that on the fly, and that was creating a lot of problems for us down the track. And like I say, we got some projects really wrong, but it's like, that's what I was trying to refer to before. Sometimes in the mistakes you learn, but sometimes in the good experiences you learn. We've learned a lot from making a lot of mistakes, and now we're going, right, how does that affect our client? How does that affect our reputation? And how does that affect our staff and the pressure that it puts under for our team? And then you're always putting out fires. Yeah.
How do the clients respond to you sort of getting it all at the beginning and not actually writing a line of code before you've got all that plan together?
Yeah, great question. So now we look at it, we explain that to a client before we work with them. So here's our process, here's our systems and processes of how we work. And this is the way we've worked out that it's optimal for you to be able to deliver a project on time and budget. So sometimes you have to say up front, and if that's not the way, if you want to control this development yourself, then it's fine. We're probably not the right development company for you. But if you want to work with a team who's there to try and do it the best way that we possibly can and give you the best experience so that you can then serve your community, because ultimately when you're building tech, you're really there to serve other people and create a great experience. So that's what we're trying to do, is create a great experience and get rid of the industry issues that we have where people don't deliver on time and budget. We've done it too. So I'm saying in some areas we were 1 and 2 and on the scale of 1 to 6, and it's like, okay, so we have to start somewhere. And so as we've been going along, we're developing and refining, and we finish a project and we will go through and do a debrief of the project. What worked, what didn't work, what did we learn, so that we can improve our systems and processes, improve our team, grab all those lessons that we've learned from the mistakes that we've made, and then so that we can learn from those in the next project that we do. So the aim is to try and keep growing and keep learning and keep the team involved so that we can get a better outcome for the client at the end of the day. So we're trying to be.
Do you find some of the clients get impatient though with the bit at the beginning?
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's like you have to, and I hate saying the word, because you say those magic 2 words, trust me, and people go, they won't trust you. But when you've done something enough, like you've been through your recruiting process, Nancy, when you've done it enough, you know that the process works. So it's that if the client can just go, well, if you've had enough trust to want to come to me, just trust me in the process that we're about to take you through. Always remember, there was a goal is not a goal. You can have a goal, but it's not in the chasing of the goal. It's the systems and processes that you have in chasing that goal helps you get to that goal. So the system and processes in your business, same as us, that's what helps us deliver that project at the end of the day. And again, we don't always get it right, but we're striving each week to learn and try and improve so that we can increase our standards and deliver a better product at the end of the day, and a better process, time and budget for our clients.
Yeah. I think one of the problems is, and it's the same for both our industries, people think they know what they want, but actually they don't know what they want, and they sort of come up with these ideas and things, and we have exactly that same problem, and we spend so long going through what the client thinks they want, and then we go through line by line and check, and they say, oh, we want a ninja project manager.
What does that ever mean?
That's one of my favorite ones, a ninja with excellent communication skills.
Yeah, that's right. As opposed to what, poor?
Yeah, we've got one now. They want, we're just an ordinary office manager. We're just an ordinary office manager. And we have to, we take 2 weeks at the beginning of the process to really go through what they want, to investigate it, to do our research, to find out where we're going to find them, what the package should be, what the actual job title should be. Job titles, their own special minefield. And it does take some time sometimes with clients saying, look, we need to get this bit right, because otherwise we're not going to find you the right person. And we also know that we do a 1-year guarantee. So if the person doesn't work out for any reason at all, we will replace them in the first year. And we don't want to have to replace them. But we know that when we do, very often, we've got an 88% success rate, so we don't have to replace them that often. But when we do, and we look back at what went wrong, it's often because the process wasn't followed properly. So we know that taking shortcuts just isn't a good idea in these situations. And in fact, one of our clients just spoke to a new client recently who wanted to, take up references. And when I spoke to him, I sat on the phone, he said, "Oh yeah, Brady said to me, desperation is your enemy when you're hiring." And he's absolutely right, because then you just go for anyone and then you end up with not a good fit. In fact, one of our clients, who is himself a recruiter but focuses on a particular area, we hired him someone and he took the wrong person. And he did us this 15-minute video of why it had gone wrong and why it was basically 95% his fault, because he'd gone for that desperation thing for someone who happened to already be available, had experience in his sector, and actually just turned out not to be the right person. But all through the process, her results just were not as good as the other candidate, who in fact was still available, weirdly, after 9 months, and he took on, and she turned out to be really good. But it's so easy when you're desperate just to like, oh, well, yeah, no, they'll do it. Anyone can do this. It's not that difficult. Or I think with the software thing, just to have all these ideas that sort of pop into your head. But I mean, in some ways, don't you find the developers sometimes also do that? Because that's one of the issues we've had, where a developer will just, oh, we could do this, we could do that, and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, they don't go from the customer's point of view. I think that's probably one of the biggest gripes. They're always out there looking at it from the tech perspective, or the tech person's
because
perspective.
they love the tech, don't they?
That's right. So instead of looking at it from the customer's perspective, and how is tech and the customer going to come together, I think probably the biggest change for us is when we created the model. And I think, Pete, you've just been through that process with Michael and that model. I think when we put that model together a couple of months ago and realized that there's more than just us in a development process. So it's like, how do you collaborate or bring a team together? So if someone was going through a development process, really being upfront with somebody and going, hang on, you need these people if you were to put a successful development together outside of the development team. So you might need your lawyer, your accountant, your business coach, your marketing team. So, and there's a number of others, because there's a process that you go through, and letting people know that up front so that they have expectations. There's no assumptions up there. The expectations are up front, and honesty, and it's there from the perspective of the customer, not there from the business owner. It's like, how can we serve you versus what can we get from you? And I find that a lot of the times people go out there with the intention to do something that they want to build, not necessarily what the customer wants. So we're trying to do it differently. We want to do it the other way. How can we be customer centric and help the customer get what they want? And I think that's part of being 6-star. It's like, how can we add value? How can we help you? How can we serve you? How can we have all those little touch points along the way and be able to do them better, so that, you get that remarkable,
But, it's all very well
you didn't have to do that.
saying that. It's always saying that, but you have to have a process that makes it possible, don't you?
Absolutely.
And, especially when customers, they're not as familiar with the technology as you are. So they're not actually aware of what can be done. And obviously they're going to be behind in the technology compared to you, aren't they? So they're going to be looking at something that to you is at the very least 3 or 4 years old and saying, oh, we want this and we want that. And that there are other ways of doing things that are better. Yeah, exactly.
That's our job, Nancy. Like, it's your job for recruiting. Like, that's our job, to be able to put the client first and go, right, here's your options, and actually be thinking for them like you are for recruiting. I don't think this candidate's the right one. Same thing for us. If you're going to do this looking 3 or 4 years ahead, these are the technologies that you could use, and keep it simple. No tech language. Try and keep it in a simple way.
Yeah. And you think you want this, but with my expertise and whatever, what you actually need is this. That's part of what our role as consultants and service providers, helping people get clear on what it is they actually need.
Yeah, and telling them what is available that they're not aware of, because it's not their job to be an expert in that field, is it, at all? But I
No,
think that's quite difficult to really hone that down. I think it's back to the sort of Einstein thing when he says when he's solving a difficult problem, he's got an hour, he spends 55 minutes on framing the question and 5 minutes on working out the answer. And it's the same thing here, isn't it? You've got to really
absolutely.
frame that question. But people get impatient with it. We had another question from a client. When does the ad go up? Well, we haven't even defined, this is for a telesales person, we don't actually know what the conversion rate ought to be. And until we know what that is, we can't actually work out what the commission rate ought to be or anything, basically. So we're actually conducting some tests at the moment to work out what conversion rate should be. But I think that's a problem when you're hiring into a role that they haven't had in a company before. So they've got no benchmark at all. And we don't want to just hire someone who then goes into something and the commission structure is completely wrong, the technology isn't working, they're not going to be able to do a good job. That's just a waste of everyone's time and money. So we're kind of forcing the client to kind of work these things out and get the technology working before we actually find them some candidates. But I can understand why they want to get everything moving really quickly. Of course they do. But you have to have desperation as your enemy, really.
And that's as true. You're obviously looking at it through the lens of recruitment. I would say that's true of pretty much any area of business, that desperation is going to be your enemy. There's so many learns in this podcast for me. For our listeners, it's going to take another listen, which I'm going to look forward to doing. And I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest takeaway, and really interesting to see that, like, on the face of it, recruitment company and software app development company, what's connecting them? What's the relevance? But there's so much that has come out in this conversation. And the thing for me is the importance of being curious about what is happening, whether it's happening well or whether it's not happening as well as you wanted, to not just accept that, but to actually investigate it, ask questions about it, and do that on a continual process to continually improve.
And I think it's also being really clear about what it is you want to achieve. We're just trying out our new software. We're on the third iteration of our software now. And the original was just like spreadsheets and stuff like that. And then we moved on to Podio, which you may have heard of, sort of big data management software stuff for project management. And that's actually been quite good. But then it's now quite clunky for what we need. But each time we've got a new version of our software. Actually, we're on our fourth version now, I suppose, aren't we? We've got a better idea of what we actually need. And we've actually improved our process as well in the meantime. So whilst Podio now is not meeting our needs as well as we'd like, it has actually been really good and it has helped us a lot. And then we had to have some very expensive special editions written and all that sort of thing. And, that's fine. But now we're moving on to the next one. But each time we've got more and more clarity on what we want. And we did spend actually months looking for any proprietary software on the web that would do what we want. But the trouble is the software is all designed around, in my view, very rudimentary and not very effective recruitment processes where you have candidates and you can score the candidates like 1 to 5 stars. And it's like, but we score them on every single criterion, which are like 40 or 50 different criteria. We score each one of those on 4 different levels. So there is just nothing like the flexibility or functionality in any of the platforms at all for what we're doing. And it's little wonder that people don't hire very well if they're using software that's just like, well, is your candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars? That's it,
I think you make a good point there, Nancy, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes we make as a business owner trying to put anything together. Specificity, getting very specific about what you want, because you will get what you ask for otherwise. So if you don't get very specific, like you now know what you want after 4 editions. So someone's trying to come to you for recruiting, someone's trying to come to me for what we do, someone's coming to Evelyn or Pete. The more specific you are about what you want, and then that'll help the professional to be able to narrow down and help provide you some good solutions.
But it is really hard to know that. And I think one of the things is if you know the right questions to ask yourself, like I think it's probably the same question for your software and for our recruitment. The question is, how would you, this software was doing a really good job if it was implemented? What would be different in your life if that software was really working? And it's the same with a candidate. How would you know if they've been there 6 months that they were doing a really good job? And then you get really different information. Because when people come to us, they say, oh, well, they would probably want kind of a housewife, a woman who's sort of working from home. And it's like, no, that is not the right place to start. And it's illegal, by the way. I want, if you say how do you want your life to be different, it can be, well, I want to have less to do. I want all this admin to just go away. I want to be able to come in and find my diaries all sorted out. And I've just got a few emails in my inbox that are the key things I need to deal with. Now I'm thinking, right, I know what this person needs to do. Whereas if it's, well, I want a really good business manager. Yeah, that's a very different, very sort of nebulous thing. And with our software, we want to know exactly where every candidate is, which candidates are at the top of the list, where we are on that pipeline with everyone, how many candidates we've got at each step. That, without having to search everywhere, that's a lot clearer. But it's being really clear about how things would be different if you had that person, that piece of software.
That's a great question. That's a great kind of summation, if you like, of the conversation. We're at the time and we started late and finishing late. Do you want to
That's okay.
bring this thing in?
I will. I just wanted to raise, just to sort of reflect back. I've been very silent listening to this amazing conversation. And I want to just reflect back to you both, because I feel like you've both talked about this aspect of understanding in both of your businesses. And that is something that we have to learn as we evolve, I believe, as a business owner. And it's something, it's a mindset, it's a consistency, it's an action, it's something that we've got to consciously do. And to me, that is the 6-star behavior that puts you guys apart from others.
I think Darren actually nailed it when he said it's about being curious. I think that was you, Darren, wasn't it? And being really curious about what that customer actually needs. And if you can keep that open mind, instead of a sort of fixed, well, I know exactly what they want, blah, 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 it's just be open and curious and ask those questions. Then you will get the information that it's in their head. They just don't know how to get it out.
Yeah.
Well, Pete summed it up before. He said, what's the crossover between both our businesses? Well, we're both really in the people business. You're in the people business recruiting. We're in the people business trying to create and build innovative tech, but we're still in the people business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And at our core, humans all want to be understood. And for us all to be able to do our business, not just well, but really like 6-star, we need to leave the people, our customers, feeling like we have fully understood them. And to do that, you've got to be curious. You've got to ask the questions. You've got to mine through the layers of information and, everything else they bring to that first meeting, second meeting. So I'm really grateful for all of your input and gold on this podcast. And even though we're conscious of time and we're rolling it in, I just want to ask, is there any kind of little tidbit or piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with tonight?
Go on, Darren.
You go, ladies first.
I'm trying to think. Well, I would say, I think it is just ask yourself that question. How do I want things to be different? How would I know if this person was doing a really good job before you start any recruitment or hiring at all, and write those things down, and you'll find that is a really big help. And then look at the results and compare them with what you did during your process to check how well you did it and what you can learn for next time.
Brilliant.
I'd like to leave them with, if you're going to build or try and find a piece of software for your business of any kind, get very specific about what you want. Ask lots of questions. If you have to, interview lots of different companies to get different perspectives before you do anything. And whatever you do, make sure that you've got that specificity put into design and do a prototype of some kind to minimize the amount of money that you spend, especially if it's something innovative. Spend the money on the prototype and to try and get some traction before you go and roll out a full project and spend lots of money. So
very good advice.
Don't believe the marketing hype. If it's existing software, don't believe the website.
Yeah.
Get onto support chat and ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic advice. Thank you both. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Nancy. I'm very grateful. Hope you've had fun.
Awesome.
Very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
That was another stimulating, thought-provoking episode of the 6-Star Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for getting this far. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, and give us a comment, review.
Rating, if there was a 6-star, we'd love you to give us a 6-star rating, but to just go as high as you can.
And if you want to continue the conversation with us and all the cool people who've joined us from the podcast, head on over to apply.6starbusiness.community.
See you there.